What's up, everybody? Good morning. We are doing a spark plug change today. Just randomly did a pull one day and check engine light started flashing. So instead of assuming everything's okay, we're just gonna swap everything out. Got the new ones right here. So we're gonna take that out. Now, I noticed that there isn't any videos out there that deal with, spark plug changes on a V6. And I'm sure it's easy, but figured why not? Might as well just make the video. And, that way, if anybody else is curious, it could be done. Got to give a shout out to Benjamin Reeves, or Hyperhawk. He's the one who told me about where to get the spark plugs, which I got them from Rock Auto. They were super cheap, about 44 bucks for all 6, including shipping. It's, from my understanding, it's not easy if it's still stock, if you haven't done anything. There's a lot that you need to do. You need to take this off, and then this is one of the spark plugs, but you've got this foam that sits on top of it. So when I put the ported throttle body and the manifold, I should have taken off that foam, but I was thinking, whatever, I'll just leave it, because I did take off some foam that was supposed to go under the that cover, but I didn't. I ended up leaving it. So my fault, but I didn't know at the time that it was gonna be that complicated. You gotta take that cover off, get the manifold off, and then you gotta, there's a lot of hoses and wires that are clipped to it. Now I'm gonna keep that foam off because honestly, it's good for maybe noise reduction, but in this case I'm already trying to be as loud as possible. So we're gonna take off the manifold, or at least not take everything off, but loosen it up enough for me to be able to slide it under, or be able to take it off. Because once that foam is off, then you can reach the coils, and then you can just pop them off without taking off the manifold. So that's my goal, is to be able to just do that with no issues. This is just essentially a quick install about how to do it. But we'll see. From my understanding, we got to take off the intake, not the whole thing, but just loosen it up to be able to pop it off. And then take off the manifold, and then you're able to do it. But if you are thinking of doing ported throttle body and manifold, just take off that foam. Most of the guys on the V6 forums have left it off, because then you can get to your coil packs a lot easier, and then you can just switch out your spark plugs a lot easier. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take that off, and then we'll go from there. From the looks of it, at least for my sake, we're gonna have to take off the manifold to be able to do this, because some of the foam is sitting on this itself, it'll just be easier. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna disconnect this. We're gonna pull this guy out. Actually, I still have to go to, I need to get a replacement bolt for this. It's a good thing there's a Chevy dealership literally down the road, but so far this has been sticking. I've been meaning to do that. I honestly forgot about it. So we're gonna take this off, and then we should be good to go, because honestly, these little pieces here, I'm just gonna rip. I just need to be able to lift this up high enough to be able to pull this out, and I'm just gonna cut the foam out. So this here, just going to loosen this up, be able to pull this out, and then that'll give us enough leeway to get to the bolts, be able to lift it enough to be able to pull it as much as I can from under, and then we can get to the spark plugs. Alright, so I took off the intake tube. disconnected the MAF sensor and the throttle body sensor or control, and then the return line, I disconnected that. So at this point it's just the throttle body that's connected. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's some in the back, but I don't think I need to disconnect those in the back. But we're gonna get those, we're gonna loosen them up, at least the ones that are mainly here, and then see if we can just like lift it slightly so then we can pull this out. Oh, well, I guess that was kind of simple. But yeah, so we're gonna have to be very careful because as you can see, there's a bunch of little dust around there. So we're definitely gonna wanna try and be very careful, especially when we loosen it, to just slightly lift it so we don't get any dust or any particles into the intake valves, because that'd be very, very bad. So yeah, so that'll be the next step. Loosen these up enough to be able to lift it slightly, and we can pull the foam out. Pretty simple, well, for the most part. So keep in mind though, so there's these 6, there's one back there, one right here, there you go, that one, and you got to take the 2 in the back off. I thought you would be able to just kind of be able to lift this up slightly, pull this out. You got to undo those, but the good thing is you don't have to take the entire manifold off. But as you can see, I was able to pull the foam out, and then once the foam's out, see, you can see the coils there, very easy to be able to get to, and yeah, be able to pull them out with no issues. As far as I can tell, this may be an issue here, but I think once I actually pull it apart, I might be able to turn it like a specific way, and then it might be able to pop out. So I guess we'll see once we get to that point. All the foam is off. This side was actually pretty easy to get the foam out. It was a little bit of a squeeze that I needed to do, but it wasn't too bad. It was just hard to get the foam that was in this places. You're definitely gonna have to, cut it up into smaller pieces and, try and get it, through there. But for the most part, it was pretty simple. And it looks a lot better too. I mean, I understand that foam is to make everything look clean, but I mean, I guess for the average person just leaving their stuff stock, it looks great. But in my case, definitely this looks better. So yeah, I may need to cut these off. I have a feeling I'm going to need to. I guess we'll find out once I start taking it apart or pulling these, but I'm gonna start with the hard ones first because these seem like they're gonna be easier, but usually it's the opposite case, so we'll find out. But yeah, we're gonna start with this side, do the same thing on the other, and then yeah, we'll get these pulled. So you're just gonna just pull this little guy here, and then there's a little tab right here, and you pull out. That's it. Now, do you have to put these in sequence? I don't think so, but I always do it. I always put things back exactly where they need to go, just to be safe, and that way, everything goes back exactly how it was, and things aren't mixed up, and everything's good to go. So I'm gonna start here and work my way around. I'll probably get a rag, try and clean up around it, so that way I don't get any gunk or anything inside of the where the spark plug will be sitting. So I believe that's a 10. 10 right here. Let's find out. Yep, it's a 10. So that's a 10 here. I found out this is a 13 millimeter. I tried a half and it's super snug. A 13 millimeter is probably your better one here. And then it's 10, it's a 10 millimeter for the back. So that was pretty simple. But yeah, so let me go ahead and get this off and then we'll go from there. Had a minor setback. So it turns out that my spark plugs are smaller than my Civic had. So I needed to go and get a new spark plug remover. Which is fine. But now the car's hot, so it's gonna gotta be very careful now to not, burn myself. But you know, with taking everything off, buttoning everything back up so I could drive the car to go get, you know, that spark plug remover, the car was running fine, you know, no issues or anything. So far so good. I left the cover off only because I was just going to take it right back off, so there was no point in putting it on just to take it off. So remember to always put your oil cap back on. I always put it back on no matter what, just so nothing falls inside of the oil. But yeah, so now we can actually, you know, do what we're supposed to. So now we can actually, that one was actually really easy to take off. The screw came out with a lot of room. That they're a little bendable, so you're able to kind of bend it and then pull it out. Don't bend too hard because you don't want to break it. So now I can actually go and do what I was supposed to do. So we'll start with that one again, and then we will go along, and hopefully it doesn't, hopefully it's not too bad. The before and afters. Now, let's see, this is going to, there we go. So wow, this one on the left is really hot. But as you can see, definite difference in the two. All right, it's super hot. Definite difference in the two. So yeah, this one is pretty gunked out. Now, it's pretty gunked, but that being said though, check out the tip. It's still pretty good. I don't know if it's gonna focus or not. The tip is still pretty good, but this is pretty gunked up. But that being said though, jumping from E85 back to 91 probably caused a lot of this gunk to be there. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a catch can, so that's another thing too. But you know, even I'm gonna get one. I made other things priority, which I should have made that the priority as well, but you live and you learn. But so for now, we'll just do this swap. You know, it's a cheap swap. So now we can throw this in there. It's nice and clean, new one. And yeah, let's go ahead and swap them out. Okay, we're done. So this took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but it was due to some issues dealing with the spark plug socket. The socket didn't want to let go of the spark plug, so every time I try to pull the socket out, it just gets stuck, and it was trial and error trying to figure it out, but I was able to get it. So I would recommend definitely, if you buy a spark plug holder or a spark plug socket, definitely check with you know, one of the new ones. Make sure it's going to slide in and out easily. I had to use a knife to kind of just open up the hole a little bit more, like so it could hold it but not, you know, grip onto it, and then it was just going to be an issue. But it's done. It was actually very easy. I mean, it maybe took 20 minutes, but only because I took my time, tried to be careful with the spark plugs and stuff. One thing I would recommend, you know, just to make sure you're good, is definitely get yourself a gap gauge, just to make sure all the spark plugs are to spec. These were gapped on to spec from the factory. I used that gap gauge and they were about 0.5 millimeters off. Now from what I've looked up and what I've seen, it's supposed to be 0.35, and these were 0.30. Now maybe they were supposed to be 0.30, but I did my research before I gapped them, and that's what I kept finding. But let me know, am I wrong? Should have they been 0.30? Should I just left them? I mean, I can't find my owner's manual. I have no idea where I left it. In our move, I'm sure it's locked up somewhere, but either way, so it's all good to go. These were very simple to take out, to be honest. It looks a little complicated, especially with these things here. The good thing is that they're bendable. So like this one, this comes out like very easy. All the bolts came out with no issues. There is one that was a little not too complicated, but it's gonna definitely be more complicated than the rest. But you know, this just kind of, you bend it a little bit, pull it out, easy. That one was super easy in the far back, so you know, I thought that one was going to be the worst of them all, but it was this one that was actually the hardest one, and it's only because of this. I mean, if you got rid of this, I'm sure it made it easy, but You know, again, these can bend, so when I pull it out, you kind of got to have this loop here kind of creep through here, you know, and just kind of wiggle it through, but no issues, in and out, bam. It was super, super easy. This should have taken me half an hour, 45 minutes, give or take, from start to finish. And actually doing spark plugs from now on is gonna be 15 minutes. It's honestly just 10 millimeter on those bolts, pop it out, take out the old one, put the new one in, put it back in, call it a day. But this took almost like 2 hours just because of you know, what I've had to do to prep for myself to get it, you know, for it to be this easy. But yeah, that's all I got for now. Again, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments or anything that I could have done to make this easier, throw it down below. You know, I'm open to having as much advice as possible. I had to reach out to the guys on the V6 Facebook group, and they gave me some good advice on how to do it. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. You know, if you haven't liked the video, go ahead and do that. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I'm trying to throw out more videos as much as I can. Work has just been very busy. Yeah, I'm gonna go get some footage out at the drag. I might throw one up here, but I'm gonna make that into a completely different video. Thank you guys for watching again. I really do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on the next one.